The year was 2287, and humanity had at last mastered faster-than-light travel after decades of witnessing alien civilizations glide through the stars with a grace and certainty that made Earth scientists feel like children fumbling with broken toys in a sandbox, while those aliens soared above in wondrous craft that bent both imagination and the laws of physics as humans understood them, navigating the cold emptiness of space where sound could not travel and light took years to journey. But now humans had finally unlocked the quantum fold drive, enabling ships to vault across the void in mere hours rather than the centuries-long journeys of slow generation vessels that carried frozen colonists to far-off worlds they would never witness with their own eyes. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UEES Defiance, humanity's first deep space exploration ship built specifically to make contact with the alien civilizations that had observed Earth for the past 50 years without ever reaching out or offering guidance on the technological barriers that had kept humans tethered to their solar system. Like prisoners trapped within a cage of physics and mathematics that other species had conquered, millennia before humans had even discovered fire, invented the wheel, or learned to cultivate crops instead of hunting and gathering across the plains and forests of ancient Earth. His crew of 200 represented the best and brightest of Earth, handpicked for this historic first contact mission that would decide whether humanity would be welcomed into the galactic community or dismissed as primitives, unready for the perils and responsibilities of interstellar travel and encounters with species whose motives and biology differed so radically from humans that communication might be impossible without advanced translation systems recently developed by Earth scientists. Through meticulous study of intercepted alien signals, among them were Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant, the tactical officer with razor-sharp instincts honed through years of simulator training and actual combat during Earth's final resource wars, which had united the planet under a single government. After centuries of tribal conflicts, nationalist strife, nuclear threats, biological warfare, and climate disasters caused by unchecked industrial expansion, Chief Engineer Paul Henderson, whose modifications to the fold drive made the journey feasible by cutting power consumption by 40% and increasing fold accuracy, so precisely that ships could emerge within a few thousand kilometers of their target rather than several light hours away, which would have rendered the mission impossible. Their destination was the Galactic Assembly, a colossal space station orbiting a neutron star in the Kepler sector, where three great galactic powers maintained headquarters and managed the governance of hundreds of species across thousands of star systems, forming a loose confederation bound together by trade, knee star to the next, agreements, mutual defense pacts, and cultural exchange programs that had kept major wars at bay for nearly 2,000 years. According to the sparse data, Earth's spy satellites had managed to intercept from careless transmissions. Three great galactic powers dominated this region, controlling the political and military landscape of this sector through a combination of superior technology and overwhelming numbers, leaving smaller species with little choice but to join the Confederation or be absorbed through economic pressure and cultural assimilation, which gradually stripped them of independence until they became client states with no real influence in galactic affairs. The Vaxxer Collective was an insectoid race overseeing 200 star systems, through a hive mind network that allowed billions of individuals to act as one cohesive entity, making decisions and implementing changes across their civilization within hours, rather than the years or decades needed by democratic or monarchical systems to reach consensus amid entrenched opposition. The Calarian Empire consisted of reptilian warriors commanding fleets in the thousands, having built their power through military conquest and the ruthless subjugation of weaker species, who now labored in the Empire's mines, factories, and agricultural worlds, sustaining the ever-expanding war machine hungry for resources and new species to exploit for their biological and technological uniqueness. The Gen Concordat was made up of ethereal energy beings who considered themselves intellectually superior to all carbon-based life, spending most of their existence on philosophical debates and scientific exploration, pushing the limits of physics, mathematics, and cosmology, while regarding physical beings with the condescending patience Adults show to children who have yet to grasp how the world truly works beneath its surface. When the Defiance emerged from its quantum fold near the assembly station, the reaction was far from what humanity had hoped for. In their most optimistic projections debated for decades in universities and government committees, as Earth prepared for this pivotal moment that would define its future among the stars, Commander Susan Blake, the communications officer, received the first transmissions, her face paling as she read them aloud, her voice trembling slightly with suppressed anger and humiliation at the casual disdain conveyed through every word. As though the assembled alien species were spectators at a zoo observing a newly introduced animal, the Vaxxer laughed openly at humanity's ship design, claiming it resembled something their larvae would build. It's a school project to teach basic principles of propulsion and life support, before advancing to concepts that actually functioned efficiently in the harsh expanse of deep space, where a single error could kill everyone aboard. The Calarians had classified humans as a Level 2 civilization, barely above stone tools in their estimation, and suggested that perhaps in another 1,000 years, humans might develop technology worth noticing they managed not to destroy themselves first through war, environmental collapse, or some other self-inflicted catastrophe that primitive species were prone to experiencing. The Gen asked whether humans had discovered fire yet, a question that seemed to be a joke that other species found endlessly amusing. Judging by the laughter echoing across multiple communication channels, their amusement offered with no concern. For the insult, it represented to a species making first contact. The formal reception exceeded even the human delegation's most pessimistic predictions. Ambassador Richard Cole led the diplomatic team into the station, accompanied by Security Chief Nicole Perry and Cultural Liaison Greg Murphy, who had spent years studying what little Earth intelligence could uncover about alien customs, protocols, and social hierarchies governing interactions in the galactic community. The vast chamber held representatives from hundreds of species, but the three dominant powers occupied elevated platforms that forced visitors to look upward, a display of superiority that was both obvious and insulting to anyone familiar with dominance hierarchies, human or alien. High Commander Zaxith of the Vaxxer clicked his mandibles in what the translation software rendered as condescending laughter, remarking on how quaint it was that humans had finally left their cradle and wondered aloud whether they still fought wars with chemical propellants and kinetic weapons, like children playing with sticks and rocks. Before Richard could respond diplomatically, Empress Kira of the Catharians hissed her amusement, the translator struggling to convey the full venom of her voice, noting that the human ship had taken 3 months to reach the assembly, while her courier vessels made the same journey in 4 days, suggesting perhaps the Catharians should offer humans a tow back to Earth, to spare them the indignity of another 3-month crawl in their pathetic starship. The Zen representative, Nexus Prime, a being of shifting light that strained human eyes to look at directly, spoke in a voice like crystal chimes, simultaneously beautiful and crushingly superior, announcing that it had reviewed humanity's technological profile and found it lacking in every measurable metric, from energy generation to materials science, computing power, and theoretical physics. Nexus Prime declared with certainty that humans were at least 8 centuries behind standard galactic civilizations, and questioned why humanity had even been invited, suggesting Earth had nothing to contribute except as a curiosity or cautionary example of attempting space travel before achieving true technological sophistication. Richard stood firm, though the humiliation burned like acid in his chest, insisting that Earth had survived and thrived through adaptation and determination, asking only for a chance to prove itself worthy of membership in the galactic community with all the rights and responsibilities it entailed. Zaxith's laughter intensified, mocking humanity's primitive technology and limited physics understanding, questioning what humans could possibly demonstrate to civilizations that had been traversing the stars, long before humans had evolved from primitive ancestors crawling out of Earth's oceans. He asked whether humanity's industrial output could supply a single Vaxxer mining colony processing more raw materials in a day than Earth could produce in a year, or whether their military could defend against a Calarian scout squadron that would shred human defenses like paper in a storm. The chamber erupted in ridicule, delegation after delegation joining in to curry favor with the three dominant powers by belittling the upstarts, daring to present themselves as equals. Earth was denied trade agreements that would have provided access to advanced materials and technologies. It's capable of accelerating development by decades or centuries. Refused technological exchanges routinely offered even to minor species, and barred from basic navigation rights through established trade routes that would allow human ships safe passage through alien-controlled space. Returning to the Defiance, heads held high despite simmering rage and disappointment, Jake Morrison made a decision that would echo through history and alter the course of human civilization in ways no one could foresee. He opened a secure channel to Earth, priority alpha encryption signaling the highest importance for human survival, and waited for Fleet Admiral Helen Carter's face to appear on the screen. Delayed 3 seconds by the vast distance between Defiance and Earth. Helen Carter, a veteran of the resource wars who had risen through the ranks during Earth's unification after centuries of conflict that had nearly destroyed humanity multiple times through nuclear war, biological attacks, and environmental disasters, listened as Jake reported that the aliens had not merely rejected humanity's application for Galactic membership, but had dismissed it entirely, treating the delegation like children playing at adulthood in a world where real power and technology made human efforts appear laughably inadequate. Helen's expression hardened into the look of cold determination that had defined her leadership during Earth's final unification years, when she had personally led the forces that had ended the last holdout nations and brought them under the unified government that now spoke for all humanity with a single voice. She instructed Jake to return to the Sol system immediately and informed him that she was convening an emergency session of the Unified Earth Council, the body governing humanity's combined resources, military forces, and scientific infrastructure, empowered to make decisions binding all of humanity to a single course of action. Helen promised that by the time the Defiance docked at Earth's orbital facilities, a response would be ready that would show the galaxy the consequences of underestimating humans and mistaking patience for weakness, and kindness for an inability to strike with overwhelming force when necessary. As the Defiance turned for home and engaged its quantum fold drive, none of the assembled alien powers gave the departing ship a second glance. In a galaxy of civilizations thousands or even millions of years old, what could a single primitive species possibly achieve that would matter in the grand scale of galactic politics and long stable power dynamics? The journey back felt longer than the outbound voyage, each crew member carrying the weight of failure as a tangible burden that grew heavier with every fold space. Jump across distances that conventional propulsion would have required generations to traverse. Jake Morrison spent hours in his ready room, replaying recordings of the assembly's mockery, the insults, dismissive gestures, and casual declarations of human inferiority, looping endlessly until he had memorized every word, expression, and body language cue demonstrating the aliens' utter contempt for humanity's aspiration to join them as equals rather than curiosities or servants. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant found him there on final approach to Earth, red-rimmed eyes betraying his sleepless nights, bringing preliminary orders from Fleet Command that demanded his immediate attention. In a quiet voice, she told him that everything was about to change. Reshaping human civilization in ways no one could yet imagine, the orders were unprecedented. All senior officers of the Defiance were to report directly to Geneva Central, Earth's unified military headquarters, where the most critical decisions regarding human security and survival were made by the highest-ranking officials of the unified government that had replaced the old system of competing nations. Upon arrival, the scale of Earth's response became clear as the council chamber, filled with faces familiar from history texts and news broadcasts, including Fleet Admiral Helen Carter at the center, flanked by General Marcus Webb of the Ground Forces and Director Claire Johnson of the Scientific Directorate, which controlled the vast network of secret research facilities. Helen began without preamble or apology, welcoming the officers to Project Vindication and activating a holographic display that dominated the room. showing ship designs unlike anything humanity had built before. Massive dreadnoughts, bristling with weapons and sleek carriers capable of deploying hundreds of fighters and support vessels. Dwarfing the Defiance in both size and capability, Claire Johnson stepped forward, eyes alight with barely contained excitement, explaining that for the past 30 years, Earth had been preparing for exactly this moment of rejection and humiliation. Scientists and military planners had long known the galaxy would treat humans as primitives, who needed to earn their place through demonstration of power and capability. While the world believed orbital shipyards were constructing exploration vessels and research stations, they had secretly been developing weapon systems based on alien technology recovered from crashed probes. Abandoned satellites and derelict ships hidden in the outer solar system for decades or centuries, awaiting a species clever enough to find them and reverse engineer their secrets. Chief Engineer Paul Henderson, who had designed the Defiance's quantum-fold drive, asked how Earth had kept such massive projects secret from both humanity and the alien observers. "Is surely watching with casual interest." Marcus Webb replied grimly that humans had become masters of secrecy. During centuries of warfare and espionage before unification, and alien observers had sought advanced technology in all the wrong places. Assuming humans would follow the same developmental paths as other species, Helen activated another display, scrolling past weapon specifications, plasma lance batteries, quantum torpedo launchers, gravitic shear generators, and a null field projector capable of manipulating space itself, rendering conventional physics child's play compared to humanity's deep understanding of reality. She explained that aliens considered kinetic weapons primitive, which was precisely why humans had abandoned them years ago, focusing instead on systems based on principles the galaxy had either forgotten or never discovered over millennia of evolutionary development. Ambassador Richard Cole, still stung by diplomatic failure, asked how long it would take to build a fleet capable of challenging the established powers, and whether the galaxy would wait patiently as humans prepared for war. Helen's smile turned predatory as she told the room, the Thomans were not merely catching up to galactic civilization, they were already ahead in key ways. Helen ordered Claire to reveal what had been hidden in the orbital facilities everyone assumed were civilian construction yards. The hologram shifted, displaying shipyards around Earth, Luna, Mars, and the asteroid belt, dozens of massive vessels in various stages of construction. But what left the room in collective astonishment was the sight of 17 capital ships, each larger than any vessel humanity had ever built, floating in formation with running lights active. Fully operational and ready for deployment, Helen announced that these were the first Dreadnought fleet, 17 dreadnoughts, 43 heavy cruisers. The proving grounds were a nightmare of navigation. Asteroids from pebbles to mountain-sized boulders tumbled unpredictably. Low-power laser pulses from automated defense platforms simulated enemy fire, and gravity wells from massive rocks created treacherous zones that rendered conventional navigation useless. Yet the human ships moved as if in a choreographed ballet, each vessel adjusting course and speed in perfect coordination with its neighbors, so that when one dreadnought banked hard to avoid collision, the other ships adjusted their trajectories automatically, maintaining formation spacing without conscious thought, guided by AI systems communicating faster than human nervous systems could process. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant called out contacts from her tactical station. Keeltherin Scout Alpha was shadowing the Retribution at 12,000 kilometers, close enough to observe, but far enough to escape if the human ship acted unpredictably. Jake ordered Kevin Price, manning the weapon station, to tag the Scout. The targeting system, using quantum processing arrays, predicting movements 7 seconds into the future, locked onto the vessel, making evasion nearly impossible. A low-power communications laser marked the Scout as destroyed under exercise rules. The vessel immediately withdrew, its pride wounded, while the remaining 2 scouts attempted to use asteroids for cover. Human sensor arrays penetrated the interference effortlessly, relying on detection of gravitational distortions and quantum fluctuations, impervious to ordinary matter. Within 15 minutes, all 3 scouts had been tagged and removed from the exercise. Leaving the alien observers stunned, they had expected the humans to expend all effort merely avoiding obstacles. With no capacity for offensive engagement, the real demonstration was yet to come. As the fleet approached the densest asteroid field, where even elite pilots slowed to extreme caution, Admiral Price gave the order that would redefine everything. All ships activated their null field projectors. These devices created localized bubbles of altered physics around each vessel, manipulating mass and momentum in ways that defied conventional understanding. Space rippled around each dreadnought as the experimental technology engaged. The UES Indomitable accelerated directly toward a cluster of asteroids that should have obliterated it. Instead, the rocks slid around the hull, repelled by invisible forces. The Dauntless executed a 90-degree turn at full-speed maneuver that should have shredded it with inertial stress, but the null field compensated, keeping the crew safe while allowing the vessel to move in ways that violated known physics. 17 dreadnoughts carved through the proving grounds, like blades through water, completing the course in 37 minutes, less than half the required time, without a single collision, and eliminating all defensive platforms and 3 Calarian scouts in what was meant to be a simple navigation exercise. Emerging on the far side, the fleet reassembled in perfect formation. The galaxy fell silent. Even the mocking ceased, for what they had witnessed defied every law of physics, every doctrine of ship design and tactics. Admiral Price's voice carried across all channels, explaining that the demonstration showcased only about 30% of the vessel's combat capabilities, as offensive weapons, fighter wings, and electronic warfare suites had not been engaged. He formally requested recognition of humanity as a sovereign galactic power with full diplomatic and trade rights, emphasizing that Earth was not asking for charity or technology transfers, but demanding the respect any spacefaring civilization earned by proving its capability. He gave the assembled powers 1 standard week to respond. Then the fleet vanished in synchronized quantum fold. Leaving observers stunned, the 3 galactic powers faced an uncomfortable reality. Humanity was not primitive. It had been observing the galaxy, testing weaknesses, and studying arrogance while preparing an unprecedented response. The Vaxxer Collective, the Caltharian Empire, and the Zen Concordat convened emergency sessions, trying to comprehend how humans had achieved such technological sophistication so rapidly, and what it meant for a balance of power stable for centuries. But pride and centuries of assumed superiority die slowly. Within hours, the 3 powers issued a joint statement. Humanity's demonstration was impressive, but insufficient. True recognition, they declared, required proof of combat capability against a real military force, not automated simulations. The statement ended with a thinly veiled threat. If Earth wanted respect, it would have to seize it by force against civilizations that had conquered hundreds of worlds and commanded fleets in the thousands. Jake read the response, allowing himself a cold, satisfied smile as he transmitted a request to Fleet Command for permission to accept the challenge. Helen Carter's reply was swift, authorization granted, with orders to show the galaxy what happens when patience is mistaken for weakness. The war nobody wanted, but everyone expected, was about to begin. The galaxy would soon learn that the most dangerous warriors are those with nothing to lose and everything to prove. When survival and dignity demand victory,